In the late 1960s, when Warren Wells lined up wide for the Oakland Raiders, time itself seemed to hesitate. His speed wasn't just physical, it was art, defiance, and liberation all in one stride. He didn't just stretch defenses. He stretched the imagination of what a black athlete could be in a league that still flinched at the idea of equality. Every catch was a protest. Every touchdown was a declaration that he would not play the way they wanted him to. Wells wasn't quiet or grateful. He was bold, fierce, and brutally honest, the kind of man who challenged both defenders and the unspoken rules of a white-controlled league that preferred its black stars humble and smiling on cue. But rebellion, even on a football field, always comes with a price. Before he became the legend of Raiders lore, Warren Wells was just another forgotten name on an NFL draft card. In 1964, the Detroit Lions gave him a chance, but not a fair one. Like so many black players of that era, he was placed in a system designed to hold him back. His talent was undeniable, but his opportunities were few. They benched him, labeled him difficult, and quietly cut him without fanfare. To the Lions, he was just another body, another speedster who didn't fit the program. But destiny had other plans, and that destiny wore silver and black. When Al Davis brought Wells to Oakland, something electric happened. The Raiders were not the establishment's team. They were rebels, outsiders who embraced chaos and swagger. And in Warren Wells, they found their perfect storm. He didn't run routes. He attacked them with a hunger that turned broken plays into miracles. With Darryl LaMonica, the mad bomber throwing bombs downfield, Wells became unstoppable. In 1969, he averaged 26.8 yards per catch, a number that even today seems impossible. For a brief burning moment, he wasn't just one of the best. He was redefining what the position could be. But as he climbed, so did the whispers. Reporters began circling. The same media that once praised his heroics started dissecting his personality. Egotistical. Reckless. Uncoachable. Words coated with bias, always reserved for men who didn't play the role assigned to them. They said he had attitude issues, that he was losing focus. But what they were really saying was that Wells refused to be silent. He was confident, outspoken, and unafraid to challenge the establishment. In 1960s America, that was dangerous, especially for a black man in a white man's league. Then came the night that changed everything. It began as a celebration after another Raiders win, a night filled with laughter, teammates, and relief. But by morning, the headlines had rewritten the story. Raiders star arrested. The details were twisted, exaggerated, weaponized. Overnight, Warren Wells went from hero to headline, from star to scandal. No one asked for his version. The media didn't care for nuance. The league didn't care for truth. The image of a troubled black athlete sold better than the story of a man caught in a storm, not of his making. Inside the Raiders' front office, panic spread. Al Davis had built his franchise on rebellion, but even he knew there were limits to how much rebellion the league would tolerate. Pressure came from every direction. League officials, sponsors, television networks, all warning that controversy wasn't good for business. And just like that, Wells was cut loose. Not suspended. Not defended. Just erased. He thought the punishment would be temporary, that talent would buy him another chance. But what came next wasn't justice, it was silence. The league turned its back, and the press moved on. One day, he was the fastest man on the field. The next, his name was a whisper no one dared repeat. It wasn't a fall from grace, it was an execution without trial. The truth, when it finally surfaced, was simple and cruel. The accusations were exaggerated, the stories manipulated. But by then, it didn't matter. The NFL had already moved on. The machine had done its job. Warren Wells was gone, not because of what he did, but because of what he represented. A man who refused to shrink himself to fit someone else's comfort. He spent the years that followed drifting through a life stripped of purpose. The crowds were gone, the cheers replaced by silence. The phone stopped ringing. Friends turned into ghosts. The fame that once defined him vanished faster than the ink on his last newspaper headline. Without football, he had no stage, and without the stage, he had no voice. He tried to rebuild, but the past followed him everywhere. One mugshot, one headline, one rumor. It was enough to keep the doors shut. In the 1970s, while the league grew richer and more powerful, Wells faded into obscurity. He was a man erased not by scandal but by apathy, and that perhaps is the cruelest punishment of all. When he finally spoke years later, His words carried the weight of a man who had seen too much. "I gave them my best," he said quietly. "But they only loved me when I ran fast." It wasn't bitterness, it was truth. The kind that exposes the soul of a system built to consume its stars and discard them when they stop shining. Warren Wells' story isn't just about football, it's about America. It's about how the same system that celebrates your talent can destroy your humanity when you step out of line. The same silence that buried him has echoed through generations, from Colin Kaepernick to Marshawn Lynch and beyond. Different names, different eras, but the same unspoken rule. You can be brilliant, but you can't be defiant. And yet in those grainy AFL clips, when you watch Warren Wells streak down the sideline, something inside you still stirs. You see a man who is pure motion, pure freedom. A man who outran not just defenders, but expectations, prejudice, and the invisible chains of conformity. For a fleeting moment, he was untouchable. And maybe that's why they had to erase him, because he represented something they couldn't control. So tonight, when we talk about Warren Wells, remember him not as a cautionary tale, but as a symbol of rebellion, of beauty uncontained by the limits of the time. The league may have buried his story, but history always has a way of unearthing the truth. Because legends like Warren Wells don't fade, they echo. If you felt the weight of this story, if you believe players like Warren Wells deserve to be remembered not for their silence but for their fire, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts below. Do you think the NFL has changed? Or are we still watching the same story, just with different names? This is Old School Sundays, and I'll be back next time with another untold story that shaped the game we love.